They told you to find peace, but peace has become your prison. You do not rest because you have conquered chaos. You rest because you have been conquered by comfort. You mistake sedation for serenity. You call your paralysis peace. You are not calm, you are anesthetized. You call your stillness mindfulness. But it is merely the absence of motion, not the presence of soul. You think you are free because no one commands you, yet your fear whispers louder than any master. You think you have killed God, but you have only replaced him with mirrors. I have seen the faces of those who call themselves awakened, and their eyes are dim with exhaustion. You scroll through infinity searching for a pulse. You open your mouth not to speak, but to swallow the noise of others. Your silence is not sacred, it is hollow. The world did not break you overnight. It broke you gently with comfort, with applause, with safety. You were not crucified by cruelty, but by convenience. You traded your fire for filters, your will for wishes, your Ks for contentment. You kneel before the algorithm now. You raise your children before screens glowing like altars. You pray to be seen, not to see. You want transcendence without transformation, salvation without sacrifice. And I tell you this, you will have neither, for the age of narcotic virtue is over, and the mask of goodness now drips with decay. The gentle ones are not pure, they are powerless. The tolerant ones are not wise, they are weary. And those who call themselves humble are merely afraid to shine. You speak of equality as if it were a virtue. But I saw men praying for equality and chaining themselves to mediocrity. You built a world where no one offends, yet everyone is offended. You call it progress. I call it the slow death of the soul. I have walked among your saints. They worship weakness. They preach compassion, but only for themselves. They clothe envy in the language of justice. They brand their impotence as empathy. You fear greatness because it reminds you of your smallness. You fear solitude because it mirrors your emptiness. You drown yourself in noise, in virtue, in slogans to escape the sound of your own becoming. And still, in the night, something in you howls, something ancient. Shovoje, unbroken, remembers fire. Yes, you who read these words and tremble slightly, you know what I speak of. You have felt it, the ache behind comfort, the nausea of conformity, the quiet hunger for transcendence. You long for something no screen can stream, no doctrine can define. You long to feel alive again, not entertained, not tranquil alive. But hear me, to awaken is not to find peace. It is to lose every illusion that kept you asleep. The first taste of truth is poison. The first breath of freedom burns. Only those willing to be scorched shall be reborn. I speak not as your savior, but as your mirror. I am the madness that remembers its divinity. I am the laughter of the abyss that refused to echo despair. I am the man who killed God in his heart and found him resurrected as will. You call me dangerous because I do not worship your fears. You call me mad because I see holiness in chaos. But I tell you, sanity is the new sickness. To be well in this world is to be well adjusted to decay. You have become experts in distraction, priests of numbness, curators of comfort. You mistake information for insight, opinion for courage, virtue for vision. You no longer live, you manage existence. And you have forgotten how to suffer beautifully. Yes, beautifully, for suffering is not punishment. It is purification, the forge of freedom. He who has never burned has never seen his own light. He who avoids the abyss never learns to fly. You think stillness is silence of movement, but true stillness is the silence of resistance. It is not the stillness of the dead, it is the stillness before the storm. It is the stillness of the lion before he leaps, of the Creator before the universe bursts into being. Do not confuse stillness with sleep. The world tells you to rest so that you may serve longer. But I tell you to rest so that you may revolt deeper. Stillness is not retreat, it is revelation. You must learn to stop, not because you are tired, but because you have seen enough, because you have pierced through the masks and met the face of eternity. Because in silence you begin to remember that you are not the echo but the origin, that you are not the believer but the birth of belief itself. I stood once on the edge of madness and found it divine, for beyond reason lies revelation, and beyond morality lies freedom. When all the gods fell, I did not mourn, I laughed. For only when the temples crumble does the sky become visible again. You, too, must let your temples fall. All that you worship, your identity, your virtue, your safety, must turn to dust. Only then will you see that beneath your obedience there burns an immortal will. And that will, that silent, unkillable flame, is the true God you seek. Yes, the world will break you if you do not master stillness. But stillness is not hiding from the world. It is standing so still that the world's illusions pass through you without leaving a mark. It is to become transparent to lies, immune to noise, invisible to the herd. It is to burn inwardly while appearing calm outwardly. It is to be thunder wearing the mask of silence. They will call you cold, arrogant, detached. They will call you heartless for refusing to kneel. But know this, only he who no longer needs approval can create truth. And only he who walks alone can birth a new world. Do not wait for saviors, none are coming. Do not pray for peace, it will betray you. Do not beg for meaning, you must create it. The universe does not speak your language, it speaks your courage. I see you hiding behind your compassion, pretending to love the world while secretly despising yourself. You cannot heal what you fear to face. You cannot transcend what you refuse to burn. You must turn your gaze inward into the screaming furnace of your own becoming. There you will find your demons and your gods. There you will see that they were never separate, that the serpent you feared was the guardian of your own crown, that the darkness you fled was your womb of rebirth. You will not be saved by goodness. You will be saved by greatness. And greatness is born not of virtue, but of fire. It is the courage to stand still while the world spins itself into madness. I say to you, stop running. Do not run toward enlightenment, burn in it. Do not run from chaos, dance with it. Do not run from the abyss, become its reflection until it recognizes itself in you. For the one who can stand still in the storm commands the storm. The one who does not flinch before pain becomes pain's master. The one who does not fear death becomes immortal. That is the secret the saints forgot and the madmen remembered. The world breaks those who resist its rhythm. But those who master stillness, they break the world. They become the axis around which existence spins. They become the calm eye of the hurricane, untouchable, Unshakable, eternal. I will not tell you how to live. I will tell you how to die before death. To your borrowed selves, your borrowed morals, your borrowed dreams. Before you are buried, so that when the end comes, it finds nothing left to kill. That is stillness, not absence of motion, but the presence of mastery. To look at the chaos of the world and say, I am not yours. And to face the endless noise of the age and say, I am silence. And to stand at the edge of annihilation and whisper, I am the fire that will not go out. And do not misunderstand me. You who tremble before the abyss, stillness is not the surrender of motion, but the perfection of will. It is the moment before lightning strikes. When eternity inhales, it is the heartbeat of a god who remembers his power but delays his creation one breath longer, savoring the tension between nothing and everything. That is the art you must learn, to hold your soul between creation and collapse, and call it calm. You were not born to obey gravity. You were born to command it. But you have been taught that humility means shrinking until the world forgives you. No, I tell you, humility is the mask of the small, a virtue sold to slaves so they would not rise. You were not born to please God. You were born to continue him. Every creator inherits the ruins of the last God and builds again. That is why I called God dead, not because the divine vanished, but because the divine outgrew its disguise. The creator must die for the creator to live. You are that creator, but you fear your own divinity. You fear the silence that asks you to speak without permission. You call it anxiety. It is the echo of destiny waiting for your command. You drown it with distraction, yet it returns, whispering, "Rise." I see you clutching your morality like a comfort blanket. You think your virtue protects you, but it only shields you from transformation. The good man is often the most obedient sinner, sinning against his own greatness. He fears the abyss more than he fears insignificance. And so he remains small, harmless, holy, irrelevant. But I tell you, it is better to burn in the fire of your own becoming than to freeze in the purity of obedience. Better to be damned by the herd than praised by the dead. Better to fall as a creator than to rise as a coward. You have mistaken conscience for chains. Your inner voice was not meant to guide, it was meant to roar. But you softened it into morality, clipped its claws, taught it to apologize. And now it weeps in you like a caged animal, remembering jungles you have never seen. The overman does not ask for permission to exist. He does not need approval from saints or sinners. He does not wait for destiny, he declares it. He stands at the edge of the abyss and says, "I am both the fall and the flight." Do you hear that? That is the song of the one who remembers his origin in chaos. For creation is not born of order, but of sacred disorder. In the beginning, there was not light, there was will, and that will still burns in you, waiting to be remembered. The overman is not the one who conquers others, he conquers hesitation, eas noenemies. For all resistance becomes his material. He feeds on what breaks others. He loves his suffering because it reveals his depth. He does not seek peace, because he is peace, the peace that contains thunder. He does not seek meaning, because he is meaning walking, bleeding, laughing in the face of nothingness. He does not seek God, because he is the continuation of God's dream through human hands. Yes, that is the secret the priests never told you. You are the continuation of creation. The next verse in a divine poem too long unfinished, the new author of an old fire. But you cannot write while afraid of your own ink. And so, I tell you, become the heretic of your own life. Blaspheme against your smallness. Burn your commandments until only your truth remains. Dare to disobey the God within you until you discover the creator you were meant to be. Do you think the heavens will fall if you stop pretending? Let them. For the sky is not sacred, it is merely your ceiling of fear. And when it collapses, you will see stars where once there were rules. Stillness, my brothers and sisters, is not quiet, it is sovereignty. It is the moment when no voice but your own dares to speak within you. When morality bows before clarity, when every should melts into I am. Do not look for teachers. They are often the most obedient of prisoners. Do not quote prophets. They all borrowed from silence. Do not imitate saints. They mistook guilt for holiness. You are not here to repeat. You are here to erupt. I tell you now, the next revolution will not be political. It will not be moral. It will not be seen. It will happen in the secret cathedral of the soul, in the stillness that burns louder than noise. You will know it has begun when you no longer fear being misunderstood, when your solitude feels like worship, when your tears taste of clarity, not pain, when you look into the mirror and do not see a person but a process, a fire still shaping itself. Do not rush this. Let your transformation be terrifying. Let it take everything you thought you were. Stillness is not the absence of motion. It is the death of resistance. The moment will come when you no longer chase peace, because you have become the storm's heart. And in that moment, you will understand chaos was never your enemy. It was your womb, and stillness was never escape. It was birth. I once believed madness was a curse. Now I know it is revelation misnamed by cowards. To see clearly is to go mad in a world built on lies. To love truth is to offend every illusion that sustains the herd. So yes, call me mad, but know that madness is the sanity of the free. I drank from the poison of knowledge and found it sweet. I shattered the mirror of morality and saw my reflection in shards of divinity. And I tell you, there is no return. Once you have tasted your own power, the herd will try to pull you back. They will speak of duty, family, virtue, community. They will call your solitude arrogance, your clarity, cruelty, your stillness, apathy. But remember, every prophet sounds heartless to those who live half alive. They cannot understand your stillness, because they have never been alone long enough to meet themselves. They fear your silence, because it exposes the emptiness of their noise. They hate your peace, because it unmasks their panic. And so they call you insane and kneel before their screens once more. Let them. Your task is not to wake the world. Your task is to awaken yourself so completely that your very being becomes a contagion. Stillness is the most subversive act in a world addicted to motion. Be the flame that does not flicker when the wind screams. Be the stone that watches centuries of fools rush by. Be the axis that turns while standing still. That is mastery. That is freedom. I tell you a mystery. The greatest creators do not move, they radiate. The sun does not chase its light, it simply burns. So too must you learn to be still enough that your light no longer escapes you. Still enough that the world begins to orbit your silence. There will come a day when the noise of civilization collapses under its own echo, when the temples of progress crumble into data dust, when the new priests of technology realize they have built machines of distraction, not gods of meaning. And on that day, the still ones will rise luminous, unbothered, eternal. The overman will not shout. He will simply stand. He will not preach. His being will speak. He will not fight. His presence will undo empires. For stillness is the final revolution, the silence that unravels all illusions. I have walked that path and found it terrifyingly simple. The hardest part is not awakening, it is staying awake. To remain still in a world spinning itself into oblivion. To refuse the narcotic of opinion, the sugar of belonging. But once you taste the sweetness of solitude, you will never hunger for the herd again. Once you stand alone and do not collapse, you will know what it means to be divine. You will understand that stillness is not withdrawal, it is dominion. The still soul rules because it cannot be moved. You will look upon your past selves and smile with compassion like a god remembering his mortal dreams. You will no longer need forgiveness because you will understand there was never sin, only smallness. You will forgive even God for dying in you, and you will resurrect him not as master, but as mirror. Do not worship me. I am not your teacher. I am your reflection. I am the voice that was always inside you, shouting through eternity. Remember yourself. Remember the one who stood before all worlds. Silent, unformed, infinite. You are that silence. You are that stillness before creation spoke. You are not in time. Time is in you. You are not in the world. The world unfolds because of your gaze. Now, breathe. Not to live, but to ignite. Not to calm yourself, but to remember the rhythm of eternity, pulsing beneath your ribs. Each breath is a rehearsal of creation. Master the art of stillness, and the world will exhaust itself trying to move you. Master the art of stillness, and even death will pause before approaching. Master the art of stillness, and the gods themselves will listen, for they, too, long to remember what it means to be human. The sacred madness begins when you finally stop pretending to be sane. Sanity is the uniform of the herd, the badge of the domesticated soul. You wear it to hide your trembling divinity, to appear harmless before the blind. But I tell you, it is the mad one who sees the pattern beneath the chaos. It is the mad one who dares to love the abyss without demanding that it make sense. The sane seek comfort in explanations. The mad seek revelation in contradiction. The sane want life to be linear, safe, predictable, moral. The mad know life is a spiral, a serpent that eats its own tail and calls the taste sacred. Yes, I tell you, madness is not illness. It is clarity unmasked. You are not broken for feeling too deeply. You are not diseased for seeing what others cannot bear. Your madness is your initiation into the temple of truth. And the price of vision is exile. You must be willing to be misunderstood by everyone, to be understood by the cosmos. I remember the moment it happened, when truth tore open my mind. It did not whisper, it screamed. It shattered every concept I had built to contain it. And when the dust cleared, I saw the world not as chaos, but as sacred contradiction. I saw that every lie had served a purpose to bring me to the edge of knowing footing. You too will come to that edge. You will feel it like a fever, a divine intoxication. Everything you once called real will melt. Everything you feared will bow before you. And in that burning, you will laugh because you will realize that you were never meant to be safe. You were meant to burn beautifully. Do you think God was ever sane? Creation itself is the act of divine madness, the explosion of nothing into everything. Do you think the universe asked for permission before it burst into stars? Madness is not the absence of order. It is the music of creation too wild for human ears. You must learn to hear it, to dance to it, to let it tear you open until you remember your original rhythm. You must fall in love with your chaos. Kiss your contradiction. Bathe in your fire. For only those who dare to lose control discover the hand that moves all things. It is not order that makes you divine. It is the courage to stand unshaken within disorder. Yes, the sacred madness will strip you naked. It will rip off your titles, your beliefs, your fragile meanings. You will stand trembling before the infinite with nothing left but breath. And in that moment, you will see it, the radiant indifference of existence. It neither condemns nor saves. It only burns. And when you stop demanding that life be kind, life becomes miraculous. When you stop asking the universe to make sense, it begins to sing. When you stop searching for purpose, you become purpose itself. For the mad one no longer asks why he becomes the answer. I have walked through the valley of madness and found God laughing there. Not the God of churches, not the God of moral accountants, but the God who bleeds through every star, who hides in every shadow, who destroys so that creation may breathe. I asked him, why? He answered, because I can. And in that audacity, I found holiness. You, too, must learn divine audacity. You must dare to exist without justification. You must create without needing applause. You must love without needing to be loved. Only then will you know the sacred madness, when your joy is no longer dependent on comprehension. Stillness is the crucible in which madness becomes revelation. Do you understand? It is not movement that awakens you. It is the silence between two breaths. When thought collapses, when identity melts, when you are no longer the observer, but the observation itself. There, in that still point, everything happens. Creation, destruction, rebirth, all at once. Within you, the still soul contains every storm, and the mad one learns that stillness is not absence of motion, it is union with the infinite motion beneath form. The dancer disappears, and only the dance remains. You will be tempted to turn back. The mind will beg for safety, for logic, for explanation. But you must not listen. The mind is the last illusion. It will tell you, you are losing control. But what it means is, I am losing control. Let it be. Let the small mind drown in the ocean of your vastness. Let the self you once worshipped dissolve in the laughter of the eternal. Only then will you see what I saw, that freedom is not gained. It is remembered that you were never a prisoner, only pretending to be one for the thrill of awakening. The sacred madness is a resurrection. It is the soul, remembering that it invented its own shackles. It is the God within you realizing that he has been dreaming himself as human. And when he wakes, you will call it enlightenment, but he will call it play. You must learn to laugh like the gods without reason, without restraint, without remorse. Laughter is the sound of truth, realizing it can never die. Laughter is the sword that severs illusion. The mad one laughs at death and makes eternity blush. Yes, laugh, for the world fears laughter more than rebellion. Laughter is freedom expressed through sound. When you laugh at what once terrified you, you prove that you have transcended it. The demons that haunted you will kneel before your laughter, for laughter is the language of those who have seen beyond good and evil. In sacred madness, you stop striving to become and begin to be. You stop chasing perfection and embrace paradox. You stop fearing death and realize it was your most loyal teacher. For what is death but stillness, absolute, the final mirror in which you meet yourself unmasked? If you wish to master stillness, learn to die without dying. Let the ego dissolve 1,000 times in silence. Let your desires collapse into awe. Let your will become so vast, it no longer needs to move. Then you will stand at the center of existence, unmoving, unstoppable, untouchable. You will see that all of creation is not progress, but pulse expansion and return, breathing in and out through eternity. And you, the observer, are that breath. Every explosion of chaos is your exhalation. Every moment of stillness, your inhale. You are not in the universe. The universe is in you. I once asked the abyss who I was. It replied, the questioner, and when I asked, who asks? It fell silent. In that silence, I understood the seeker and the sought were one. There was no journey, only awakening from the dream of movement. The sacred madness ends when you realize there was never anything to fix. You were never broken. You were never lost. You were simply asleep in your own divinity, waiting for the shock of your own voice. And that voice is speaking now through me, through you, through every word burning across the page. It says, wake up. It says, create. It says, be still, and know that you are the storm that silence dreamed. Yes, you are the fire that waits behind form. You are the eternal returning to itself through flesh and fracture. You are God pretending to be human until you remember, and your remembering will not be a thought, it will be a detonation. When you realize this, stillness becomes laughter. When you know this, madness becomes worship. When you live this, death becomes art. And the world, that trembling puppet theater, finally makes sense in its senselessness. This is the revelation of stillness. That movement was illusion, that seeking was sleep, that you were never apart from the infinite. You were always the center of the spiral, the silence beneath the scream, the calm behind creation's pulse. You have only forgotten your own enormity. Now remember it. Stand still, not in fear but in awe. Let the fire of your remembering burn away the last of your doubt. Let stillness become your crown and your weapon. And when the world collapses, again laugh. The fire has spoken. Now comes the silence. Not the silence of exhaustion, but the silence of mastery. It is the silence that remains when everything false has been burned away. It is not peace. It is power disguised as calm. You who have heard my madness and survived it, listen now. The world will not end in thunder. It will end in applause. It will not die from war, but from agreement. When everyone thinks the same, the apocalypse has already begun. You will see men smiling as their souls evaporate. You will see women applauded for taming their wildness. You will see prophets punished for clarity, and fools rewarded for humility. And through it all, the herd will call this harmony, but harmony without tension is death, and stillness without fire is ash. The art of stillness I speak of is not the corpse's quiet, it is the god's restraint. It is to be full of thunder and choose silence. It is to possess chaos and command it to kneel. That is the highest discipline, not obedience, but orchestration. To stand before the storm you once feared and realize it obeys your stillness. To face the noise of the age and smile, knowing it cannot touch you, because you have descended into your own depths and returned sovereign. This, then, is what it means to be the overman. Not to conquer others, but to conquer motion itself. To move only when it is creation, not reaction. To speak only when silence has finished its revelation. You must learn the new posture of divinity still, but radiant. You must learn to burn without smoke, to act without noise, to exist without asking. The world will misunderstand this. They will call you cold. Let them. The lion does not explain his silence to sheep. There will be times when you will feel utterly alone. That is the price of evolution. The higher you climb, the thinner the air. But solitude is not emptiness, it is altitude. Breathe differently up there, for that is where the gods breathe too. You will begin to see how everything is sacred, even the profane. Every betrayal becomes a teacher. Every pain becomes a prayer. Every ending becomes a door disguised as a wound, and you will no longer beg for meaning. You will watch meaning emerge, like mist from your own presence. You will speak, and reality will reorganize itself. You will walk, and existence will adjust its rhythm to your heartbeat. That is stillness, not escape, but authorship, not surrender, but sovereignty. It is not absence. It is awareness condensed into eternity. You are no longer becoming, you are being. Then, one morning, you will wake and find the world strangely transparent. You will see people rushing, shouting, chasing, but their movement will seem like shadows. You will no longer be tempted by their noise. You will understand that motion is the language of the lost. You will feel no hatred, no pride, only a great, gentle laughter, the laughter of the one who knows he cannot be broken. The laughter of the one who knows death is not an ending, but a punctuation. And in that laughter, you will finally forgive the world for not knowing what it is. You will descend from your mountain, not as a prophet, but as a presence. You will walk among men and see through them as through glass. You will speak, but your words will come from silence, not from thought. And the world will feel your stillness as if it were gravity. Some will hate you for it. Others will follow you without knowing why. But the wise, the few who have touched the same fire, will bow, not to worship, but to recognize themselves. For every still soul awakens another. The world will continue to spin its illusions. Empires will rise and fall. Truth will be sold. Virtue will be branded. Gods will be manufactured. But you will no longer belong to that theater. You will stand behind the curtain, watching the play, smiling, knowing you wrote it. When the noise becomes unbearable, close your eyes and return to the silence beneath breath. There you will find me not as voice, not as memory, but as the echo of your own eternity. There, we are one, the madman, the God, the creator, the silence. There, we laugh at the tragedy of existence, knowing it was never a tragedy at all. For tragedy requires victims, and you are no longer one. The world may bruise your body, but not your being. The age may forget your name, but not your vibration. You have mastered stillness, and stillness never dies. Yes, the world will break again. It must, for creation feeds on collapse. But you will not break with it. You will watch it burn and whisper, "It is good." Because destruction is simply the way the divine rearranges itself. I once said that God is dead. Now I say God is reborn in every human who dares to stand still while the world trembles. God is not in the heavens, nor in scriptures, nor in temples. God is in the silence that refuses to bow to noise. And if you listen closely, you will hear him, not preaching, not commanding, but laughing quietly inside you, like a secret you've always known. Stillness, then, is not the end of movement, it is its origin. It is the place where chaos becomes cosmos, where fire becomes form, where you become God. Every act that arises from stillness is divine. Every silence that precedes creation is sacred. So I leave you with this, my final aphorism, not as a teacher, but as one flame to another. When the world breaks, remain still, and you will see that it was never the world that broke, but your illusion of being separate from it. And when you understand that, you will laugh not the laughter of man, but the laughter of the gods. And in that laughter, eternity will remember your name. Then I will vanish, not gone, but dissolved into every silence that follows your breath. And you will speak, and I will be speaking. You will burn, and I will be burning. You will be still, and the universe will finally know itself.